Welcome to PhilosoMe Talks podcast. We're back again in a different way. And this is our first time actually recording a live podcast video. So bear with me, y'all. Y'all gonna take this journey with me. I have my boys here, the camera crew. Um, Big shout out to them. They making this dream come true for me. Had a lot to say. I have a lot to say. I have a lot of questions, have a lot of inspiration going on. But today I have Miss Cupcakery, Cortney's Cupcakery, located in Florence, South Carolina, the first minority-owned cupcakery bakery in the city of Florence history, and that's a lot to say. So we have Miss Cortney Reagan here. What's up, Court?
Hey, what's up?
And we want this to be uh, like a conversation between us. We know that it's a lot of questions that a lot of people have about the cupcakery, the history of the cupcakery, how it got started, and who's better to ask those questions other than
Miss
your boy.
Cupcakery.
Yeah, yeah. So Courtney's Cupcakery is a cupcake spot that's downtown Florence. Um, it's been scaling for the last 3 years. Um, let's talk about the start of the cupcakery. Let's talk about the start of you and your beginning and where you from and your upbringing. Like what started Miss Cupcakery?
What started Miss Cupcakery? I would say once I went to culinary school, I actually didn't go for baking. Well, pastry. If we're going to use culinary terms, it would be pastry. I didn't go to school for pastry. I actually just went for culinary, just basically the plate presentation. I always knew how to cook, but I just wanted to make my food look more presentable to people, Southern food. So during that process, I went through pastry, and we had pastry for maybe like 3 weeks that I can remember. And we went through pastry and never baked before, besides just baking some little box cakes at home here and there as a kid. So I went through pastry. Um, my professor thought I was always baking, and I wasn't. So it kind of started from there. And while I was in Savannah, I was working at Applebee's. I was a server, and I made my first cake for my manager. She wanted me to make a pepper pig sheet cake for her daughter's birthday.
Yeah. So what about before all of that? Before
Before,
who are you? Where are you from? And how was your upbringing? Before the cupcakes.
all right, well, before the cupcakes, of course, I'm Courtney Reagan, owner of Courtney's Cupcakery. I grew up in North Florence. I have four brothers and a sister. Um,
Okay. And how was your upbringing in North Florence? What's some of the things you felt like you learned from there that got you here?
well, my upbringing was like any particular kid upbringing, and I would say the hood. My grandmother raised me. My parents was always in my life, but my grandmother raised me and my brothers. I had a very decent childhood. Lots of friends, played in the neighborhood all the time. We always knew to be home when the street lights came on. So that was basically like my upbringing.
So did
I was a kid.
so did you grow up cooking or anything though?
I didn't grow up cooking. I think once I started cooking, I was maybe 17, 16, 17 years old, making sandwiches and
I
stuff
remember
like
you made
that.
that sandwich. When you made that when you made that first sandwich that I had,
Yeah.
I knew it was something. Something was there. All right, so you graduated school, didn't have a cooking background. What made you go to culinary school?
Well, I'm not gonna say I didn't have a cooking background because my grandmother, my parents, they all cook. And it was more of like the southern food, but as a kid growing up, you eating the southern food, but it's not plated like presentable,
Right.
So I just had in my mind I wanted to go to culinary school and know how to plate southern food to the point where the presentation was you can eat the food with presentation, how it was presented to you. So that was basically my upbringing around food. I stayed in the kitchen with my grandma cooking, but I just never cooked.
Right.
I always watched.
Right. So you go ahead.
Until, like I said, I was maybe 16 and started making sandwiches. And then from the sandwiches, I started trying multiple things. And it seemed like everything I tried to cook came out good. So,
Right. Right. So culinary school, what do you feel like you took from that got you to this point?
um, what I took from culinary school is you have to know how to take constructive criticism. Like while you're there, you got to know that everything is just not going to come out right. When you make your mistakes, you have to own up to them. Um, and it basically taught me how to like stay consistent with what I'm doing when it comes to baking.
Right.
Because when you're consistent, it keeps your customers, your family, it keep everybody just coming back.
Right. So
So,
so you mentioned what's the biggest mistake you feel like? Because being in the baking industry, you're the centerpiece of somebody's celebration, a wedding, a birthday cake, whatever it is, whatever they're celebrating, you're like the centerpiece of it. What's the biggest mistake you felt like you made with the centerpiece of somebody's celebration?
I think the biggest mistake I've made was with a wedding cake. Um,
A once in a lifetime experience.
a once in a lifetime experience. It was a miscommunication between me and the wedding director. Um, she basically had the dates off. I don't want to put it on her, but the dates were off, and we wasn't in Savannah. I was actually home visiting my family and thinking that the cake had to be done the next weekend. And while, I'm home on vacation with my family, I get a phone call from the wedding planner asking what time I was going to be there with the cake. And mind you, I'm in Florence. We was living in Savannah at the time, and Savannah is like a 2.5, 3 hour trip. I couldn't show up with a cake because, for one, I was on vacation and I did not have time to make a wedding cake and have it there
We
on time. So that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made. I felt bad, but it was really nothing that I can do. Like,
right.
my mind was so many places thinking more about the bride. Like, she don't have a cake at her wedding to cut. She been expecting this cake, and to not have a cake,
You ever talk
it
to her?
was. I never actually got a chance to talk to the bride. I tried to, but the wedding planner, she wouldn't give me her phone number.
Right. Okay.
So I guess whatever went on between the wedding planner and the bride, I'm sure I was to blame for everything.
She probably hates you.
Yeah, but it was nothing. It was really nothing that I can do because I didn't know the bride's name. Everything came through the wedding planner, so I had no way of reaching out to her.
Right. That's crazy. All right, but before we get too far ahead, because it's a lot that I want to cover in a little bit of time. Okay, so you went to culinary school, you got your skills up. What started Courtney's Cupcakery? How did Courtney's
Um,
Cupcakery start?
what actually started Courtney's Cupcakery, where it went from Courtney's Cakes and Cookies.
Mhm,
Um, we were living in Savannah,
mhm,
kind of basically going through a hard time in our life, and we just started making cake jars.
right.
We had a conversation one day in the living room, and we just came up with a plan. I make the cake jars, and you'll go out to different places and you'll sell them. And that was basically like the start of Courtney's Cupcake when we actually really started focusing on it.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
yeah.
Going out there, I remember going out. I remember when the first batch of cupcake jars we went out with. The first batch you sent me out with, I was like nervous. I put on a suit and tie
Hmm.
to go.
It was hot outside.
It was hot. I don't even think no air conditioner was in the car.
I know it probably was. Yes, it was. We had diffusion. We had air.
Oh, but I remember getting that batch of jars and like, man, we hit a point to where I personally hit rock bottom. I couldn't find work. I couldn't. This was a time where you actually show who you are to me. I couldn't find work. I couldn't I couldn't get a temp job. That was when I knew I hit rock bottom. I went to the temp agency, mind you. I have all the academic accolades, sports accolades, all of that behind me, all the credentials that I need. Um, and I walk into a temp agency and they said they couldn't hire me because I had a violent history. I couldn't Uber because they said I had a violent history. And that conversation that we had when I got home, like, yo, I think I'm about to give up. Like I think I'm about to quit. I can't. It's nothing. I feel worthless. Like I can't do. The words that I said was like I can't do all this thinking. I can't think alone anymore. And you could just out the blue was like, well, I saw these jars on Shark Tank. This lady made these cupcakes on Shark Tank. These jars, which I went back and looked at it, and it was a horrible deal that a lady made with Mr. Wonderful. And I hope he see this. That deal was like in perpetuity, like royalties in perpetuity. Um, and hopefully Cortney's Cupcakery will be on Shark Tank sometime soon too. But you say you will make some jars. And I was like, man, if you make some cupcake jars, I'll just go out and sell them.
Mhm.
And me having that sales history from selling cars and understanding how car salesmen work, they don't want to lead a lot. Barbershops, pretty much soliciting. And the first car dealership I went to, I learned a lot, but I sold out.
Mm-hmm.
And I called you and I was like, yo, I sold out of cupcake jars. Like, we got to run this back. Like, we got to do this again. And we were both excited about that. And then most people start hitting me up. Like, you guess you still got cupcake jars?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, what happened?
We was in the kitchen every night making cupcake jars
Yeah,
where you can go out and sell them to different dealerships.
right.
And then from there, it was like multiple people wanted to start trying the jars back home in Florence. Like, we was in Savannah, so we did most of our marketing on Facebook. So when they would see us post and, see the different reviews on how people was responding to the jars, then people back home started wanting the cupcakes and the jars. So I think when we first did our first run home, was it the jars or was it the cupcake?
It was a cupcake.
It was the cupcake. So I was actually just making cupcakes and just taking them to my job and just giving them to my coworkers just to have. And they'll be like, man, you just giving these cupcakes away. They so good. You should sell them. So it was one of my managers. His name was Sean. Rest in peace, Sean. He passed away. He used to be like, Cortney, I think you should sell these cupcakes versus always bringing them to us to work and giving them to us. So I was like, okay. I had people back home asking, can they order cupcakes? So I was like, we're going to just take a cupcake order. Mind you, I think the limit at that time was probably maybe 15 orders. It was our first set. So I was like, we're going to just do 15. It went from 15 to like 25, from 25 to like maybe 50 orders. My very first time selling cupcakes here
Or
in
4
Florence.
counts.
No, they were 6 counts and dozens.
Dang.
So there were half dozens and dozens of cupcakes that we sold for our first round coming here. And during that time, when I was making cupcakes, I just had the handmade mixer in the bowl. So can you imagine making like 50 orders of cupcakes? It was probably 25 was probably a half dozen, and the other 25 probably was dozens. Making those cupcakes with a hand mixer, I was up all day
In a
and
residential oven.
all night in a residential oven in an apartment, all day, all night, up until it was time for me to deliver these cupcakes to Florence. So I was up for maybe like the total time probably was like 28 hours I was up because I still had to make that drive home. And during that time, I wasn't really giving people cutoff time for pickup. So I would say I'll be in Florence at 2 o'clock. Pickup starts at 2 o'clock. They was getting there. Some people at 2 o'clock, but the latest probably be at 10 o'clock. So I'm still up waiting for them to come pick up cupcakes. So that was our first round. And then from there, it just got bigger and bigger
Right.
and bigger.
Right.
And we was constantly making trips home. And then we got to the point where, okay, we was like, okay, let's see how Savannah respond to the cupcakes.
Right.
We started doing the cupcakes and the cookies and the berries, all of that good stuff. And they start responding. And once they started responding, it was like, it just took off. They sharing it on Instagram, Facebook, people reaching out from all over just wanting the cupcakes. So that's when it really kind of took off.
Right.
Once it was word of mouth,
Right.
people trying it.
Right. So how did you end up in Florence?
Well, we ended up in Florence because we knew we wanted to have a brick and mortar. So we was actually going to go to Atlanta. But we realized Atlanta was going to be too fast for us. We got approved for the location and everything, but once the process started moving, it was going fast, and we really kind of didn't really have time to think about it. It was just us and our two boys, so no family. Atlanta is a big city. We just knew that we probably wouldn't have been able to manage it. So we was like, how about let's just have our first location back home? Let's open the first one there. And came down, took a look at a few buildings, and this was actually the location that we found.
Right.
We fell in love with it. Actually, I came down. Me and my son came down. Our son came down. He stayed in Savannah, and I told him like once I got into this building, it felt different from all the buildings that I went in. This one just felt different, and we're here. So,
So what do you feel like some of the biggest challenges you had in the process of selling the cupcakes, the cupcake jars,
mhm.
to being the, a cornerstone in the city you grew up in? Like, what were some of the challenges if you were looking at or being able to speak to a less seasoned entrepreneur, starting a business? Like, what's some advice that you would give to them, and from some of the challenges that you feel like you encountered throughout your process?
um, I would say your challenges will make you go harder. Even when you get stuck in the area, you just have to keep going. It's been plenty of times where I felt like I was telling myself that, oh, this bakery gonna open in a few months, or we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. But in my mind, I still felt like we just got this building and it's never gonna open. But then I had to start kind of like mentally training my mind, like it's gonna happen. It won't be like this always. I just started saying that out the blue. Like even when something would get in the way, we would get a few steps ahead, and then it's like something would knock us back. And I will always be like, it won't be like this always. So I would say just keep going. Sometimes you're going to get discouraged, but for the most part, just keep going, don't stop. If we would have stopped, we wouldn't have been right here. Um, you're going to have some people that love your stuff, and you're going to have some people that just don't like it, and that's okay because it's not for everybody. And you always got to know, like a lot of times when you're out here entrepreneuring, you want to always sell out. Like with us, we always sold out, but I didn't really get the hype off of selling out. I always got the hype off of the people loving the cupcakes. I didn't care if I sold out. Like that was nothing. Like Antoine had explained to me, like even if you sell one, like I could have 100 cupcakes, but if I sell one cupcake, I was all right with that because I knew that one person could spread the word. So it's not always about selling out. Once you get out of that mindset of not selling out, I feel like you'll be better off. Um, you just need one person. That's it. You just need one person. And that's what I took from that, and that made me better.
Right.
Yeah.
But one thing that I admire about you is the way that you hustle and the way that you move and you keep going. I truthfully don't fully understand how you do some of the stuff that you do. It's crazy to me. But your mom,
Mm.
Like I know she was somebody that was super special to you. She was when you walked into this building, you said like you felt her presence
Hmm.
in this building, telling you that this was
This was the one.
the one for you. So
Yeah.
tell us about that relationship with your mom and how her influence helped you become who you are.
Well, my mom was always, like you say, I'm a hustler. My mom was always a hustler. Whatever she wanted, she was gonna go get it. And I believe that's where I got it from. She was always loving. She was not like I don't want to say most particular moms. It's just always easy. My mom just said whatever she had to say. Like even though I was a little kid, she would say some things that you'd be like, "You said that to your daughter?" But that's just how she was. But she just was always a go-getter. I love her. I know if she was here today, she would definitely be inside Courtney's Cupcakery. Like my mom would have been just like you, just putting it out there. Like, me, I'm more of a shy person. So I kind of just want to bake the cupcakes and just let them get out. I'm not really good with just talking to people. I will, once I get comfortable with you, I'll talk to you. But my mom, she would walk in the room and light the room up. She didn't know a stranger. So I just know if she was able to be here and be a part of the cupcakery, I can't really imagine what more I would do because I know she probably would have took over this place. We probably would have had cupcakes and soul food. Y'all come in here on Sundays and y'all might have some turkey wings, some rice, some collard greens, some cabbage, and you getting some cupcakes. So I mean, she was amazing. And I wish she could have been here.
R.P. to Miss Vanessa, man.
Yeah.
R.P. to Miss Vanessa. All right, so back to you and where you see yourself going now that you here. Um, what does it feel like? Like, what does it feel like to be the first, from my understanding and knowledge, the first minority black woman owned bakery in the history of the city of Florence, and to be downtown Florence in the city that you grew in? Like, what feeling does that give you in knowing that?
Man, the feeling is amazing. Like the feeling, um, sometimes I really can't explain the feeling. Like coming from where I'm from, you know, you really don't see this as a kid. Like I didn't see this as a kid coming up. So to come from to be born and raised in North Florence, and just to grow up thinking that I would probably just maybe be working at a Burger King or a Wendy's or something like that all my life, not even picturing myself being here, you know, as a kid, I wanted to be a nurse as a kid. I wanted to be a nurse and I tried going to school for it, but it just wasn't working for me. So I dropped out and ended up going to culinary school and really found my passion in doing what I love. So the feeling is really amazing. Sometimes it's still unbelievable. I can't believe that I'm here. Sometimes I still come in here when it's closed and I stand in the middle of this floor and I look around and I thank God because I just never like really thought that Courtney's Cupcaker would be here.
Right,
I never visioned Courtney's Cupcaker until a few years ago. But as a kid, I never seen any of this because it wasn't what I grew up around.
right.
But I always knew I wanted to be different. I always knew I wanted to be different, but I just didn't know it would be in this way. And I'm happy because, with these cupcakes, we spread love with these cupcakes.
Right.
So,
One of the things that you say to me, you said to me one time is the analogy of
mhm,
the small thing about a cupcake. You say, who would ever thought making a cupcake
mhm,
will get you to where you are?
yeah,
And
cupcake.
the message to the kids that you wanted to express was what to the kids?
To the kids, like to the little kids, I would say, even the teenagers, just follow your dreams. Don't ever let somebody decide what your dream should be or what you should go to school for. Like, even your parents, like, they can't make that decision for you. And sometimes we do a lot of things based on how our parents feel. But what we got to realize is that our parents had their own life. They have their own life. And sometimes, our parents want us to live out their dreams because they didn't do it. And I feel like it don't work like that. And I feel like you shouldn't, as a kid growing up, you shouldn't feel like that. So if it's something that you know that you want to do, if you want to play basketball and your parents want you to go to school to be a doctor or a lawyer, do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy because it's your life. It's not theirs. It's your life, and you're the one have to be happy in it. So just like with my two sons, we would never make the decision for them. If our oldest boy want to go play basketball or he just want to box, he don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or none of those things, I'm not going to force that on him because it's not true that you have to go to college and get these degrees to be successful in life,
Right.
you know? So just follow your dreams.
So how would you define success
Mm. How would I define success? Success is,
to you?
to me, success is basically just kind of living, making sure you got your ducks in a row. You can't really be successful and you got things that's lingering over you. So I think success is just knowing everything is basically taken care of and you just kind of enjoying life.
Right.
That's what it is for me.
Right. So what makes life worth living to you?
My children makes life worth living to me. Seeing my boys grow up, seeing what they're going to be left behind, building generational wealth for them. That's what keeps me going. It's my children.
Right. Right. So with the cupcakery, I feel like this is just the beginning.
It's the beginning.
This is just the beginning. The visions, what we both have envisioned for the cupcakery. I feel like our minds are so far past where we are that it's kind of sometimes it gets annoying with where we are, but you have to be grateful.
Hmm.
So what do you see? Where do you see Courtney's Cupcakery being? Like what is it? What is that vision for you? The ultimate vision of Courtney's Cupcakery.
I mean, so the ultimate vision of Courtney's Cupcakery, I look to have I look to have, I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm thinking about us having at least 3 locations. And just being able to get these cupcakes like spread it all over the world, different places besides just Florence. We love Florence, but we got so many other cities that can try these cupcakes, and just be able to spread love all over this universe. That's mainly what I want to do.
Yeah. Tyler Perry would say, "Think bigger."
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler Perry would say, which is one of my idols. Yeah, a minimum of 3 locations. I feel like is that, but I truthfully see a location. When I see us, I see Krispy Kreme, I see Chick-fil-A,
Mm-hmm.
I see bigger than that though. I see Uber with a delivery service or DoorDash. Like I see all of these things. I see merch. I see Betty Crocker.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see Pillsbury Doughboy. Like I see all of these things with Courtney's Cupcakery on it. Um, and I refuse I refuse to allow the world to never experience exactly what the love is that's in the product, because that's the thing that I feel separates Courtney's Cupcakery from anybody or any other company or any other entity is the love that's in the product, and the customers feel it too. Like the customers can see and feel and hear when they walk in here. It's a vibe. It's a what you see, what you feel, what you hear, what you smell, activating every sense. The customer service is second to none. And that's how it's gonna be. That's how it's gonna continue to be. And we got to show it to the world.
Yeah.
Like I feel we show it to the world.
Yeah.
So you kind of answer this question, but I want to ask it directly. If you can look back at your 15-year-old self and tell her anything, what would you tell her?
I would tell my 15-year-old self to not be afraid. Whatever questions you have, ask them. Say how you feel. Um, and just believe that you can do whatever you put your mind to. You can do whatever you want to do, but you just got to believe that you can. Um, that's basically what I would tell my 15-year-old self, because that wasn't me when I was at 15. I was afraid. I never want to ask questions. I didn't believe I could do certain things. I see people around me doing things, but I always felt like I can't do that. So, you know, so I would tell my 15-year-old self to definitely like believe you can do whatever you want to do. Ask questions. It doesn't hurt, because whatever you don't know, if you don't ask the question, you're not gonna know.
Right.
So just ask questions and most definitely believe that you can do what you want to do.
Right.
That's what I would tell my 15-year-old
Right.
self. Yeah.
That's what's up. Well, so I've been here the entire process.
Hmm.
So what questions do you feel like you have for me, for the people, that you feel like you would like to ask, if any?
So a question for you is, this been a process for for us. So my question for you is, how do you really feel from like 2014 kind of up until now, like, because we started in 2014 from that rough journey, and like where are we going now? Do you have like a sense of peace now, a little bit of peace? How do you feel about the
Right.
Cupcakery?
I feel like since 2014, like those was very, very hard times, and I found I found out so much about myself up until this point that I feel grateful. I feel very grateful. I feel like anything is really and anything is possible. Like I don't have impossible. People say that anything is possible and impossible don't exist, but I truly believe that impossible is a word that don't exist. I feel like it's faith-based and knowing where and how to practice faith, being able to believe that once you can imagine something or once you can see something in your head, and clearly, like once that thing in your head has a taste, a smell, it has a look, you can experience it like it's already there. I feel like that's when things are possible. And just to come in here, just like you, I'll come in here and I'll look around and I'll sometimes be in disbelief, but it's hard for me to be in disbelief because I believe that anything is possible. But sometimes when you have something in your head, just like when I see Cupcakery, the word Cupcakery, I'm like, I know why we call it Cortney's Cupcakery. Just understanding why it changed from Cortney's Cakes and Cookies to Cortney's Cupcakery. Like just that story alone, thoughts into things. It was a time that we started saying, turning our thoughts into actual things, and that's what we did. We turned our thoughts, our ideas, what we envisioned. We were driving from somewhere one time, and we said, "Man, let's put up." I think we was coming from Atlanta.
We were.
And we were like, "Man, when people walk in, like, what they gonna experience?" I don't remember what year this was. What year was that?
This had to be like 2020, 2020, 2020.
3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, man, what type of songs you would want to play? and we started creating a playlist for the songs, and just to come in here and think and play songs, and people come in and they're singing the songs and they happy and they enjoying it, something that we just thought about, it makes me feel grateful, but at the same time, it makes me feel neutral because of how much I know is coming, like how much further we have to go.
Yeah.
So I find gratitude in the moment, but I know it's so much work that we got to do to get to where we actually want to be.
Yeah.
That you know, it makes me excited. People will call it anxious, but I love a challenge, and I know that there's things that I can do better, and there's things that I haven't done to get us to where we desire to be as far as the Cupcakery is concerned, but it's coming.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest part is shifting the mindset to become that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when you shift your mindset to become, or when you shift your mindset to when you see that thing and you desire to become that, when you shift your mindset and become that, then everything that you desire comes to you. Yeah. I feel like that.
Yeah.
So how is it when you imagine this being what it is this what it was, or do you see something else?
I see something else.
Or how soon can we expect that something?
Well, I'm not going to tell y'all how soon.
You got something coming? You got something up your sleeve?
But we got something coming. You know, we always give y'all hints, so
right.
Just be on the lookout.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing that I want to do is every time I have someone that I'm having a conversation with, especially a business owner, I would like for them to give my viewers something. What you got for my viewers? They looking at you, they loving your show, your words. You got anything for them? Got any discounts, any coupons, any something that they can get, my people? I'm trying to look out for y'all, whatever camera. I'm looking out for y'all, so what you offering our people?
I'll offer y'all a free cookie.
A free cookie?
A free cookie of your choice.
Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to have, this is going to be on YouTube. This is going to be on YouTube, some other platforms, and we're going to have a code or something. It's going to be something in the description. We ain't got that far yet. There's going to be something in the description, and you use that something in the subscription and come to Cortney's Cupcakery, and you get a free cookie. Letting us know that you watch this episode of PhilosoMe Talks with Miss Cortney from Cortney's Cupcakery, and you get a free cookie. We appreciate you being willing to spread that love to the viewers of PhilosoMe Talks. Anything else you want to say to our viewers before we let you go?
I have nothing else to say.
Word.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for tuning in to PhilosoMe Talks once again. This is our first episode. This won't be our first episode, but this is the first one recorded. That's some backdoor information right there. It's behind the scenes information, but we appreciate y'all for tuning in to PhilosoMe Talks. We have so much more to come. So much more conversation, so much more love, so many more people, so many more offers. Y'all stay tuned. We look to see y'all again. Peace, love, and respect to everybody watching.